Chelsea were rubbish again, weren't they, at the weekend? Can only manage a 0-0 draw away against Bournemouth. I cannot say that I'm happy, but it was a very competitive game. I think we deserve more. We deserve to win. We should win 1-0, 2-0 today easily, because in the first 30 minutes we had the chances. I think we are missing something in the last third. More calm, more relaxed, to be more clinical in front of goal. Yeah? How long we sort of said about that, Chelsea? OK. We can say that after every game for Chelsea. For goodness knows how long. They're just not clinical in the final third.
Maybe it's getting lost in the language a little bit, although he speaks pretty good English, but he's been talking in circles since he's got the job about, you know, long term this, but we need to get results now, but we might not get results now, so it's just like, you know, the amount of players that have come in. Well, let me just get to the point.
Goalkeepers.
Right, one, didn't get to play golf today because it was raining again. The summer's been horrible. Two, we led the show talking about freaking goalies. Right? Three, Chelsea have just been absolutely bang average. I mean, absolutely, for what they have spent, and the way that this ownership have conducted their business is just the complete opposite of how you should try and rebuild a football club when you change ownership from the bottom up. And a very slow but, you know, meaningful and giving everybody the understanding that you know what you're doing, rather than this approach that they've had, which has left Potter and Pochettino and whoever just completely juggling all these different players. It's I don't know. I don't know when it's all going to change for them. Maybe when Nkunku's fit. I don't know. Maybe he's going to be the saviour. I'm not sure. But to say it all, to go to Bournemouth, who have, you know, they're decent, and say, well, it was a competitive game. This is Chelsea Football Club. This needs to be in the top four, fighting for titles. And quite frankly, it looks a long way off it.
Kieran, is there any light at the end of the tunnel for Chelsea fans?
Well, probably the only light is that they don't have a fully fit squad at the moment. So you probably can try and hope for, you know, those injuries to come back and improve the squad a bit. But apart from that, I can't see much happening with Chelsea this season. I mean, the opening minutes of the game. Very rarely in a Premier League game do you come up against a team where in the opening minutes you can just tell that they're there for the taking. And when I watched the game yesterday, in the opening minutes, I just felt that Bournemouth, they just weren't at it. They were ready to roll over, and I actually thought it was going to be a pumping. And they started bright. They had a few chances, and then the intent just disappeared, and then it just felt like they were going through the motions. There's no real structure. It looks very individual. And it's worrying signs. It's worrying signs. Normally, you know, I was lucky enough throughout my time at Arsenal to play in teams that could, you know, score goals and have players that could create something out of nothing, completely anywhere when you need an answer. And you know, whenever we had bad patches, it was mostly defensively. So the thought of having a team like Chelsea, with all of the great players that they've had at their club, you know, having that problem offensively is worrying. I just don't see where it looks like they're going to get their goals and chances from at the moment.
As I said before the season started, which seemed to upset quite a few just for a change, Chelsea are an afterthought this season. They were an afterthought before the season started, and they continue to be an afterthought after it started. They're not in the hunt, it seems, at the moment for anything apart from the odd 3 points. But I tell you what, there'll be a lot of teams when they go to Stamford Bridge or face them at home, but particularly going to Stamford Bridge, there'll be a lot of teams, mid-table teams in the Premier League, which of course Chelsea are at the moment, but in terms of their squad, will fancy their chances. Whenever they play Chelsea, you can get at them. They are beatable, for sure.
I said yesterday that everything about Chelsea just feels like a mid-table club. And you know, maybe...
Apart from the $1 billion spend.
Well, aside from that, and maybe the silver lining is Christopher Nkunku comes and just totally transforms Chelsea offensively.
He's got a Superman cape.
Well, he better at this point. But
If he rotates the goals.
Well, don't get me started on that. But I watched Chelsea Bournemouth, and just everything about that 90 minutes said mid-table team.
Right.
And then everything about what Pochettino says post-game says the manager of a mid-table team. I've played in mid-table teams. And when you go away to Bournemouth and you pick up a point and maybe you could have had more, the manager comes up and says, man, we were unlucky there. We could have had 3 points, but for a little better luck. Exactly what Pochettino is saying here. So right now, I'm just, again, money aside, and what that ownership group, whether we want to put all the blame on Todd Bowley or not, what that ownership group is doing with the club, leave that to them. But every single thing else about Chelsea just screams mid-table. And I can't see them any other way. I'm not going to judge them any other way.
The buck will stop with him, though.
Yeah, of course. Come on.
And so, he was stale at the end at Tottenham. He didn't do a particularly good job at PSG. He comes into this mess. They're not getting results as we speak. And no matter what those people upstairs at that football club will say, the ownership, because they said the same thing about Potter and his staff. This is a long-term vision. Nonsense. They sacked him whenever the Bears started growling. They sacked him. And they'll do the same with Pochettino. And his reputation's on the line here. So all this softly stuff in the media, I hope he's not saying that to the players behind the scenes. I hope he's going in there giving them a good kick up the backside, because it's his job on the line. Not yet, but down the line in this season, if results don't improve, the fans will turn again. That's the way it is. And when the fans turn, it's not the ownership react, the manager gets the sack. Now, we're a long way from that, but that will happen if he doesn't turn this ship around.